Well, the only people who might have a good idea of what the meaning of some of it is are some of the elders from Isleta Pueblo.
Now, it's more a
descendant
symbolism than a language.
population. Huh?
It's more of a symbolism than a language.
Yeah, it's not a language. No.
This is like something that
Yeah, it's
involved
not a
in
language.
ritual activities and things
Yeah.
of that nature.
But I brought Hopi up here, and
Oh, yeah.
he read his
all of them.
Clan
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah.
He found
There's
his clan
there's a
sign.
strong relationship among all the pueblos and all their traditions, and basically those more recent traditions, let's say post 1 AD, they all derive from central Mexico. Again, we've talked about a lot of this, but now that this is the full group, this site was constructed, and there's a big village down here which I think of as probably the caretaker's location. This rock art site was created by the people we call the Jornada Magallon, who probably developed out of the archaic populations that were resident in this basin for the last 6,000 to 7,000 years. Local peasant farmers is a way to think about it, with a religious tradition that is clearly derived from central Mexico. This was the central religious location. And there are some 25,000 individual motifs here. Unfortunately, some 15% or so of them have been severely damaged by vandals. So one of the real benefits of having this under the control of the Bureau and having visitation is the more visitors, the safer this stuff is. Because people know they're not supposed to deface it, and if there are other people around, they may hold off. So you'll see a little bit of the damage here and there. It's not too severe. Nobody has ever really done a thorough analysis of what's here, although the New Mexico Archaeological Society's Rock Art School spent 2 summers here, and they've recorded the whole thing photographically.
Well, you guys
drawn
already have
everything.
Darrell Winfree, BLM archaeologist. I'm a student of Pete's, and actually I did a lot of my field work out here on this park. When I came to the BLM, they said, "Do you have any special place you'd like to work?" I chose this.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted to come back out here is I wanted to promote the field school that we had. We did have a field school again. I'm waiting on a report.
Well, that's typical of field schools. To where the rock art is. There's a 4-digit paw in some kind of abstract. And this is a good spot to kind of get your eye adjusted. I think it was all painted. I think this whole landscape was vivid with paintings.
What
religious
colors?
paintings.
May I ask what colors?
A lot of it red and yellow, ochre pigments.
Ochre pigments.
Also black, and we see some, very occasionally, we see some blue-green, which presumably is probably copper ore, or think turquoise if you want. You know, and one of the things that always has stood out to me, and you know, the Southwest is the source of turquoise. There isn't really any turquoise in Mexico. There's an old mine up by Parsons in the mountains where, when it was first discovered by prospectors, the whole, there was a big pit and all the copper ore had been removed, and there were prehistoric artifacts around it. So somebody had mined maybe turquoise. There was some low-grade turquoise there, but part of the reason, I contend, is that blue was the royal color in Mexico, and of course, Mexico was a theocratic society, and most of the Mexican calendars
They're about to run out, right?
No, they don't run out. They just recycle.
Okay.
The world is not going to end. We're just going to another cycle. It's common throughout the Southwest and Mexico.
Kay called
Typically, it's a mountain
that cloud altar.
and or clouds, rain clouds. You see it in use very typically.
This is a journey of investigation
A storyline.
of the area. Yes.
Yeah, and they.
It's a storyline
The
of
interesting thing is
investigation.
many of these, what I often refer to as blanket patterns,
Yeah.
step fret patterns,
Yeah.
is often their one continuous line.
So this is
Yeah.
actually kind of a mnemonic for an oral tradition.
Presumably, yes.
It probably is, and you'll see it is single lines. You know, so you have positive and negative areas as well, which is a real interesting aspect of this kind of,
And of course, the rabbit
depiction. Here's
could
the
well
rabbit.
be the rabbit in the moon, which is pretty
That's true.
common
That's true.
Native American interpretation.
Yeah,
They don't see a man,
The
they
membrace
see a
saw
rabbit.
a rabbit in the moon,
and
and it is a very membrace. It is a very membrace style.
shows up well in this light. And you can see two
Like feet.
bighorn sheep motifs. This one and this one. And they had a real thing for the bighorn sheep. I don't really know why. Of course, they're native to here.
Is that what the one back there was with the eye protruding?
Might be.
Is that what that was with
Yeah.
the sheep?
Oh, they're powerful animals and they're a good source of food.
Yeah. Well, and they're real common in Mimbres art too. And the thing is that we know that when the Mimbres people had essentially destroyed their environment over in the Black Range, they farmed those little valleys to the point where the soils are so depleted that you couldn't grow corn there now 1,000 years later. We have two prehistoric solar observatories here in the Sacramentos. One is right on the other side of Sierra Blanca Peak. And I'm sure there are alignments here. The problem is here, there's too much going on. The other feature that is real awesome to me about this general locality, this saddle kind of facing this knob, is that the acoustics are very unusual. If you get on top of that and speak in a regular voice, everybody can hear you. Yeah, so that from there, everybody sitting over here hears from that knob, yes. So I can envision the whole community being seated over here and listening, speaking up on that knob. Real unusual acoustics. And as Darrell has mentioned, there's some cool rock art over there too.
Yeah, there's one pictograph petroglyph over there. When you look at it, you go, huh? I'm
That's
not
what
gonna
happens to
tell
me when I
I'm
look
not
at
gonna
all of
tell
them.
you what it is.
Oh,
They hired an ethnographer from Arizona, Betsy Brandt, and a historic archaeologist, Henry Wald, who's a friend of mine. And Betsy came down here with the elders, and I came by here briefly with the elders and took them to some of the places in San Andres Mountains, and they knew what they were looking at. They told Betsy, but it's all confidential.
oh, that you can't relay what their
No,
take
I
on
don't
it.
know. They wouldn't tell me.
So
She was recording it for them, so she's got it all written down, but it's all confidential.